Welcome back to Lost Legacies.
A Hidden City Book Company production.
I'm Matt.
And I'm Sam.
Well, Sam, how's it been?
Good. Good.
Nice.
Yeah.
Watching anything?
Yes. Yes. Started Severance.
Oh yeah.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh. Haven't gotten too far in that though. Watched 2 episodes.
hmm
Stayed up until like 2:30 watching episode 2, and then I was like, whoop, time to go to bed.
All right. So first thoughts, first opinions.
Uh it's trippy. It's crazy. It's definitely one of those things that's like I feel like maybe it hits more if you're part of the corporate world.
hmm
But I think if you've just ever had any sort of like monotonous job, I think you can relate to it pretty easily,
Mm.
and yeah, it's real interesting. It's real fascinating and just like right out of the gate, you're like, okay, what is this, like, what, like, and the characters in the show are also trying to kind of parse together, like, what is this exactly. So it's like they're right there with you, and they basically call out, kind of like in this episode of Lost, they're kind of like, is this hell, are we in hell? And other
Mm.
characters are like, no, we're not in hell, like stuff
hmm
like that. So it's like kind of it's a show that's very much for, I think, people that like grew up with or like watched Lost or like had, this kind of thing where it was
Mm.
like, hey, this is a mystery box show,
Yeah.
so we already know where your brain is headed.
Right. Right.
We present you with this weird world, that's kind of like a labyrinth, and
hmm
you know we already know that you're going to be asking the questions like, are these characters dead? Are they in hell? Are they in heaven? Is it,
Yeah.
all these other, is an alternate dimension, and it's like, maybe, who
Yeah.
knows, what, if you ask me, are we in hell? And I say, define hell.
I think the show that people recommend to us the most is the show called From.
Oh,
And
yeah.
it's created by some of the creators of Lost. Harold Perrineau's the main character,
Hmm.
and everyone's saying, "Yeah, yeah, yeah, it's from the guys who created Lost." And I think if you love Lost, you'll like this. And I'm really curious because watching the trailers, it's like this doesn't look anything like Lost. So I'm
Mm.
kind of curious to see like how similar is it? Is it just because there's a mystery, or is it kind of like a mystery box show?
Hmm.
All I know is it's more of a horror, and you know
Yeah.
how we feel about, or how I feel about horror stuff. So
I know how we feel about horror, man.
yeah, yeah. So I don't know. I think we're gonna have to try that at one point, at some point.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Also, really quick, since I haven't gotten too far in Severance, I will say I did finish yet another show.
Oh.
It was very short. It was a very short series, only 6 episodes. It was Apple TV's The Last Days of Ptolemy Gray.
Hmm.
And I know we talked about it a little bit off pod, but yeah, Samuel L. Jackson plays just an old man who's kind of losing his memory. He's living in squalor, but has signed up to be part of a program that essentially will allow people to like uh essentially like remember everything in their lives.
hmm
Um but it's still like in its trial phases. So effectively, what he's signing on to is being completely and totally lucid for about 6 weeks or something, and
hmm
then completely losing his mind for the rest of his life.
Oh wow.
But he has to do it
hmm
because his this isn't a spoiler, but spoiler if you want to watch the show going blind or whatever. But his nephew is murdered in the streets, and nobody cares. The cops don't care. They're not going to solve the case. So Ptolemy takes it upon himself to have to figure out the case. And it's real great. There's a lot of great actors. Samuel L. Jackson, Dominique Fishback is in it as well. And then Walton Goggins has sort of a small
Mm.
recurring role. Yeah, it's great. 6 episodes came out a couple of years ago. Check it out.
Nice, nice.
Yeah.
I I started rewatching The Expanse
Nice.
because Target Audience, which is a reaction channel, they started on their Patreon. So I've been watching it, and I miss that world, it feels good to jump back in. And it's only been what, 3 years? It's been off the
Hmm.
air? Something like that. 2, 3 years. And it just feels good to be back in that world. I was like, oh man. So I'm enjoying it. I'm having fun, and it's kind of cool to see these guys who they're big Star Trek guys. So it's kind of cool to see their perspective on the show.
Hmm.
Uh, and also they admit like that they're not a fan of like space battles, and they're not really a fan
What?
of like, yeah, ships. So it's like it's really interesting
What?
how they got into Star Trek, and I was like, oh wow. So it's kind of cool to see how the things that are resonating with them, and one of the reasons why I really like their channel is because they're all about character, and I think that's why they're enjoying Star Trek Next Generation so much. They're about the character journeys, and there's so many character moments in each episode of Star Trek. So it's kind of cool watching The Expanse and seeing like what they're latching onto and whatnot.
Hmm.
uh but also I've been thinking about Arcane a lot. uh I feel like we just keep talking about it since we finished the show. You obviously had more issues with it than I did. I probably would have said, yeah, I still think it's like a 9 out of 10. And now I'm thinking about it even more, maybe an 8 out of 10. But I don't know. I think my kind of issue with it right now that I'm kind of going through is
Hmm.
that each character goes on a journey. They have character arcs, but they all kind of end in the same place.
Hmm.
With the exception of Jinx, she's really like the only one who learns her lesson and changes by the end.
Hmm.
Everyone else is kind of just stationary.
Yeah.
And I was thinking about that a lot today. I was like, wow, I mean, and we talked about that. I think we mentioned that on the show when we talked about the finale. Um, Vi being unable to let go and make the sacrifice, or to sacrifice someone, that's that's what's going to kill them all. Whereas Jinx,
Yeah.
on the other hand, can make that call. And I was like, oh wow. But and of course we talked about how Vi and Caitlyn just kind of got back together too quickly. Like it didn't really feel earned. It was just
Yeah.
like they spent some time away and then they came back.
Yeah.
But especially the way it ends, I'm assuming the status quo is the same way it is in the games. Like I'm curious, is Vi an enforcer again?
Hmm.
Because she's clearly with Caitlyn, and it's like we don't know. Like, did Caitlyn learn her lesson? Like, obviously she learned, okay, don't trust Mbessa and don't trust like a third party to come in to try and solve the problems. But like, did
Yeah.
she learn the lesson that all of this happened because she indiscriminately went against Zahn?
Hmm.
You
Hmm.
know, like,
And the short answer is probably not.
well, and that's the thing. I don't want to make assumptions, like, but there's
I
no
will.
evidence to assume. There's no evidence to assume that she did.
Yeah.
So it's like you that's kind of the vibe you're left with. Yeah, maybe she didn't. She's still hunting Jinx, which even if she did learn her lesson and she did realize how she abused her power and her authority, she'll still go after Jinx no matter what. And I get that. That fits her character.
Hmm.
What One of the clues was that Savika at the end when she sits at the council table,
Hmm.
she's sitting on the Kinnerman seat.
Oh.
So that would have been cool to know. Like, did Caitlyn give her her seat? You know,
Mm, mhm.
like just a little something. You know, that would have been nice. But then also a big part of why everything just went to holy hell in that city was because of Jace.
Yeah.
And Jace never learned his lesson.
Nope.
You know,
Nope.
I mean, he kind of did. That's kind of his whole point. You know, like he's like, oh, this is all my fault and I have to stop. But like, yeah, yes, Jace, you were the problem, and now you're trying to fix it and prevent everyone else. But it's also the fact that like you're reactionary. You
Yeah.
know, you're not thinking things out. You know, so he only kind of learned half the lesson.
Yeah.
I'm kind of curious because I do want to give the team leeway to say like, oh, okay, they had to wrap it up in just one season. But at the same time, that doesn't really giving that excuse doesn't like make the story any better or less better good, so it's like but I'm curious like how quick was that turnaround, like, oh, from going, hey, we're gonna make a 5 season show to, oh, we gotta wrap this up in one. Like, at
Yeah.
what point did they figure that out? you
Yeah.
know because I feel like if they knew in advance, this season would have been paced differently, you know so I don't know. That's just the Matt's thoughts on Arcane I wanted to bring up. It's just like, okay, I kind of agree with you more as time goes on. Like, I would still give it probably like an 8 out of 10.
Yeah.
Finally, going back to the Expanse, I was gonna say I'm surprised how many reaction channels or just reactors online don't like Holden.
Really? Holden?
Yeah, and I'm
Huh.
like, I get that. Like, he doesn't really. He's probably like the least how do I explain it? Like the least.
Well, I mean, he's the least interesting character.
Yeah, like he has the least going on. Like, he's pretty much the lead of the whole show, of the saga,
Yeah. Yeah.
uh but everyone else has like these backstories and these little facets of them that are really interesting, and they really pull you along, and then Holden's just like, nope, he's the good guy. He
Yeah.
doesn't want responsibility until it's thrust upon him, and that's
Hmm.
his whole personality.
Hmm.
I was like, oh yeah, like that's kind of, I wish that he would have had a little more charisma, because he's supposed to be a charismatic guy. He inadvertently leads all these people.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
And there's certain scenes throughout the show where he's talking or just kind of like goofing around with people, and I'm like, yeah, I want to see more of this guy. Like, like
Yeah.
where does that go in the times of struggle, in the dark times, like
Hmm.
little like a little roguish, like he's not Han Solo, but like he should have a little something.
Yeah. Yeah.
He's kind of like the typical paladin, like, oh, okay, he's willing to break the rules though, but he's just kind of boring, like, all right.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
But I mean, like, I don't know. I feel like it kind of fits because everybody else does kind of end up feeling a little more larger than life or a little more complicated, you
right.
know? And it's like nobody ever gets too, like cheesy, or I don't know. Nobody's giving like a performance that's just so out there, so outlandish. Like everything's like fairly grounded. But I think it is kind of this thing where it's like everybody has so much just going on in their lives, within the show that yeah, the kind of boring dude is the one that kind of holds them all together, you know?
Sure.
And yeah, like I I don't know. I feel like I'm not like a staunch like Holden defender because I kind of feel like I shouldn't have to be.
Yeah.
Because I like the guy, like I like the character, and I
Yeah.
agree with you. Like I would like him to have a little bit more charisma, maybe a little bit more going on, but just kind of presented with what we're presented with, like it's kind of I think it's enough to just be like he really is the last good guy in the universe, you know?
Sure. Yeah. Yeah.
So
I
yeah,
don't know. It's just to me the I think the biggest like sin in screenwriting is a character who's bored.
yeah,
And I don't think Holden's bored, but man, he's tired, you know?
yeah,
And like when you watch a tired character, you feel tired, you
yeah,
know? And I think I wish they would have had that. And that's why like Holden at his best, it's always because he's around other people. Or, you know, like Holden is at his best is when he's with Miller, you know?
yeah,
And
yeah.
or when he's with Naomi,
Hmm.
or when he's butting heads with Amos. Like it's you can say that for a lot of people, but I don't know. Just holding on his own is just like, all right. Like, I don't know. I don't know. Maybe when they come back in 27 years,
I was gonna say it's like 27 years, right?
27 years to make season seven. Yeah. So,
It's like,
yeah.
guys, we can just age these people up. It's fine. Like,
I know, man. Oh, God.
just use makeup. It's okay.
Yeah. Or just put it into the plot that they don't age, like Ricardus. That's right, because we're talking about Lost today, if you did not know. Season six, the final season, episode nine. I don't know how to say this. Ab Aterno? Sure, we'll go with that. In which Richard flashes back to his life story and how he gets to the island. Okay, this is probably has to be one of the best episodes of Lost. I was
Agreed.
just pulled in, man. I love this so much. Um, First thing I'll note, it's both praise and a complaint, but like almost immediately I noticed the score. I was like,
Mm,
dude, when Richard is he's riding the horse in the
yeah.
Canary Islands and he's trying to get home. I'm like, dude, what is this music? Like it hasn't I haven't heard these themes in Lost before. So it's probably a brand new piece. I absolutely loved it. But then by the time we get into like the second half of the episode, it was some really weird kind of funky music. And I'm like,
Yeah,
this
kinda.
is interesting. Question mark. So we don't really summarize the show too much. Not anymore. Not like those first few seasons.
Oh man,
We were more
yeah,
of a recap show than a reaction show.
yeah.
Um, but we gotta talk about a story, man. So his wife's dying. He takes everything they own to the doctor, the douchebag doctor, for medicine, and he's refusing to help because they don't have enough gold or whatever.
Hmm.
And they kind of
Just
get into
money.
yeah, they kind of get into the tussle, and Richard accidentally kills the guy. Well, he ends up stealing the medicine, taking it home to the wife. She's already dead,
Hmm.
and he just ends up in jail. He's gonna be executed until a really like crappy priest
Oh yeah.
um, ends up. I guess that was his way of mercy or helping. Like he ends up selling Ricardo off to some merchant ship somewhere,
Yeah.
going to the New World.
Which,
So
like, I mean, kind of sucks though if you think about it. It's like this man's condemned to die, but you're like, no, on second thought, let's just sell him into like indentured servitude instead. Let's just make him a slave.
yeah,
Like, that's
it's
kind of messed up,
it's pretty
Padre.
messed up. It's a shitty move, but at the same time, it's kind there's something kind of poetic about that, you know, because literally the scene before Richard's saying like I'll do anything for penance, and the priest is
Hmm.
just like, nope, your soul belongs to the devil now. So it's
Hmm.
like it's almost like he's buying him that time. That's the whole thing. That's the whole thing. The priest tells him he's like, you don't have time. You're gonna be killed tomorrow.
Yeah.
So priest was making some money. Maybe somewhere deep down he was trying to help him. He's like, I'm gonna give you a shot. You know, I'm gonna try to help you in some way.
Yeah.
Um, but also like out of the options, the priest chose the option that got him out alive, you know? So it's
True.
like it's one of those real complicated things. You're like, huh, I don't know. Dude, the sets in this one, the score, the
Mhm.
Spanish, I'm like, everything.
I was I was baffled by just how much Spanish was in this episode.
Oh, me too. I
You
was
know?
totally expecting them to do the thing where like they say one line in Spanish and then it changes to English just so we understand.
Yeah.
No, no, it
Yeah.
doesn't. I was like,
Yeah.
wow, okay.
And like honestly, I'm very glad that they did that
Hmm.
because it really does make it so much more immersive, to
Yeah,
just have, these actors, speaking in their speaking in their maybe native tongue, but like for the
yeah,
characters, like this is their daily lives.
yeah,
There's no reason why they would speak English.
yeah.
Um yeah, no, yeah, I thought that was great. Um and like really just getting to see, you know, uh dang it, what's his name? The guy that plays Richard. Like just to get him to get to see him acting,
Yeah, yeah.
I feel like the problem with a lot of our antagonist characters or characters that have been adjacent to the antagonists, I feel like the problem is we've just never gotten to know them. We've never gotten to know them.
Hmm.
They've never been able to capture the same feeling um that Ben has, you know?
Right.
Like Ben is so, he's up there, one of the best characters. Uh all of the others uh a lot of them just feel very one note, you know?
Yeah,
And
yeah.
Richard for the longest time has just been very mysterious, and that's kind of it. Like we don't know what's this guy's purpose, and that's his character. He's just Mr. Mystery number 3.
Yeah.
And now it's really cool, like this season, especially like getting him to see his reactions to
Hmm.
like, other Locke, and then the whole encounter with Jack, in the Black Rock a
Yeah.
couple episodes ago where he wants to die. And now this entire episode, I'm like, this guy kind of went from a nothing character to one of the most interesting characters,
Yeah, yeah.
one of the most interesting to watch. Like,
I
it's
I
crazy.
absolutely I absolutely love that, you
Yeah.
know. Um I well, first off, I don't know how to say his name. Nestor Carbonell, I believe.
Yes, Nestor
So
Carbonell.
I looked him up. The very first thing that pops up is question: why does Nestor Carbonell wear eyeliner? And it says,
Because he wants to.
no, actually it says he does not wear eyeliner. He just has really long lashes, and they give him the appearance of liner.
Oh,
I was like,
wow.
that's cool. I
I didn't
too
know
have
that.
long eyelashes, but I don't think like that.
Side tangent, back to the real world for a second, but did you hear that that's the new like hyper masculine, thing to do is to trim your eyebrow your eyelashes?
Trim them, really?
Yeah, because
Why?
eyelashes that are too long on guys, it's just too feminine.
What you call feminine, I call sexy.
Exactly.
So, yeah,
Exactly. I can't tell you how many women have come up to me. One, I have hazel eyes, so like that's
yeah.
already kind of a thing.
It's like
It's like,
they're
wow,
like Venus eye trap.
exactly.
Eye traps? Yeah, exactly.
Sure, Venus eye
Freudian
traps.
slip. Yes,
Venus eye
exactly.
traps. But
Venus
yeah,
eye traps.
they tell me that, wow, you have such beautiful eyes, and then immediately like, you have really pretty lashes, and I'm like,
Uh-huh.
oh, why, thank you.
Here's my number. Oh.
Wow.
Uh yeah, I always get complimented on my lashes.
Hmm.
They always
Hmm.
say, "Oh, who does them? Do you have a girlfriend? Does she do your lashes?" Nope. All natural. All me,
Do
baby.
you want one?
Don't you dare touch my yes, but don't you dare touch my lashes. My one true beauty. Uh yeah, dude, like I if I was comfortable enough, I have a background in theater, so like I can do eyeliner. But like out of all like makeup, eyeliner's the one that like I'm the most nervous by because you're drawing on your eyelid.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
no, yeah. If I was more masculine, I'd suck it up and I'd do it. I'd wear
Hey,
eyeliner every day.
there you
Just
go.
goth enough, just mysterious enough. Yeah.
Just enough to where people will type in, in your Wikipedia page, hey, why does Matt Jimenez wear eyeliner?
Yeah. So at some point in my life, I don't remember where, I smashed my finger, my left finger, pointer finger, and it kind of left a discoloration on my nail.
Oh
And every
yeah.
now and then people like will notice, like, dude, what happened to your nail? Because like you'll see it like in the right light, but not usually.
Mhm.
And I'm just like, oh yeah, this happened like, I don't know, 20 years ago at this point. And I've always thought of like just painting it just so people stop asking, like, yeah, I painted my nail, whatever. Because if they see that, then they'll usually leave you alone or just be like, oh, that's interesting.
Yeah.
Instead of explaining, oh, I got smashed. Yeah, but now the third, like my middle finger's kind of doing the same thing for about a year now, and I think I hit it on something. I don't know. I don't know. I'm
So
just gonna
that's what
start
you got to do. Instead,
painting my nail black.
you just gotta
Put
hit
on
all of your fingers.
no, but it doesn't look good. That's the thing. So
Oh,
like,
okay.
I feel like just painting my nails or those two would just be like, okay, that's a weird choice he made.
Yeah,
You
yeah,
know,
yeah.
I'd rather just say like, yeah, my nails are weird color, so I just paint them.
Hmm.
It's easier to just say, yeah, yeah, I paint my nails than actually explaining the whole thing.
Yeah,
You
yeah,
know,
yeah.
so yeah, I would do that. I would paint those two nails, and I would put
Do it,
on
man.
eyeliner, and I wear
I'll
black all
support
the
you.
time anyway, as I wear my Winnie the Pooh t-shirt.
But it's mostly black, so you're
Hey,
fine.
he has black beady little eyes, Pooh Bear.
That's true.
That's goth.
That's goth.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Eeyore, sad all the time.
There
Friends
you
with
go.
Pooh. That's
Yeah,
goth as hell.
yeah. Tigger, he's all stripes. That's goth.
Yeah, true, true, true.
Uh,
Pastel goth.
yeah, yeah. You could also do like, you could also say like skater. Like the long socks, stripes. Yeah,
Yeah,
Tigger would be a
yeah,
skater.
yeah. He's adjacent.
Yeah,
They listen to some of the same music, but
yeah,
yeah, yeah.
yeah. That's cool. Owl's like goth academia.
Dark Academia. Yeah, oh for sure.
No, goth.
Goth
Yeah,
Academia.
dark academia is like cruel intentions.
Yeah. There. Yeah. Okay. All right.
Yeah,
Sure.
goth academia.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
I like it.
like Wednesday Adams in Cruel Intentions.
She's ousting Sarah Michelle Gellar day one.
Yeah,
Like, nope, not having this.
it's like what's the movie? Salt. It's like Saltburn, but instead of Barry Keoghan, it's Jenna Ortega as
Hmm.
Wednesday. Same plot though.
Same plot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Um. Oh man. Yeah. I mean, Barry and Jenna are going to be in the Weeknd's new movie. Did you hear that?
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, and The Weeknd was talking about how she's just an amazing actress and artist, and like she would come in and like as they were filming, if something didn't work, she's like, "Can we try this?" And she would just like run with it, and it worked, and was like, "That's cool. Okay, granted, I have feelings over The Weeknd acting, but I think he's also directing this,
Mm,
so I don't know. It'll be weird." So. Yeah. And I don't know if the Euphoria guy is involved because we know what happened with the idol.
yeah.
What are we talking about?
Lost?
Lost. Oh, and makeup. Oh, that's right.
Yeah, makeup.
Oh man. Speaking of dark, we lost David Lynch today.
Yeah,
Yeah, man, it's a bummer. Um,
yeah.
the picture they used of him, I think it's like the David Lynch Facebook. Um, it was him smoking in black and white with like an electric guitar, and his hair is just shooting straight up. I was like, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
His family said, because they were the ones that announced it, his family said that while we're mourning this loss, while it does feel like there's a hole in the world, David would um David would remind us, you know, to focus on the donut and not the whole.
That's good, man. That's good.
And I'm like, man,
Ah, and
yeah,
that's what we miss. The donut, you know? Like,
yeah,
I'm gonna miss seeing his weather updates.
yeah. His weather reports, man.
Yeah. Oh
Yeah.
man.
There's a video, I haven't seen it, but there's a video that people were talking about cooking quinoa with David Lynch.
Oh really?
Yeah. Yeah, and I'm like I gotta check that out. Yeah,
Oh.
just an artist. Oh, so he plays Spielberg asked him to play John Ford in The
Oh
Fablemans.
yeah. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And I saw somebody posted today where they're just like, I just have to remind everybody that I think it's really cool that The Fablemans almost ends where, like where Spielberg is introduced to the greatest director in the world,
Mhm.
and it's David Lynch.
Yeah, yeah.
It's like,
That's cool.
yeah, that's true.
You know, like I've never really I don't have a lot of experience with his films, you know, so and he's not like my favorite director by any means, but like I always liked him from a behind the scenes standpoint, you know, and outside of his art or like I guess the um yeah, I don't know, behind the scenes because like I said, I haven't really watched his movies and they've never really interested me.
Mm,
So I'll probably have to go check some out now. But I've just always been fascinated by watching him talk about his craft, you know, and
hmm.
someone who loves acting and filmmaking. Like David Lynch was always someone who just always had good advice, man. You know,
Yeah.
and when I started like screenwriting for the first time and essentially like teaching myself, there's a lot of David Lynch like clips or just notes and pages online that I would go read. I don't know. So it's just a different perspective, you know. Um,
Hmm.
still gonna miss him and his art, even though like it almost feels like an outsider looking in, you know,
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
I can't really talk about his art, but I could talk about like how he made it and you know his style, you know. So yeah, but either way, man, it's a loss for sure.
Hmm.
Um, he will be missed. If only we had Hurley to talk to him for us. I'm just trying to segue here. Um,
Wow.
talk about a great scene though when Hurley's talking to the wife, Isabella.
Isabella.
Isabella. Um, the, I don't know. That almost sounds like Italian. Isabella.
Hmm.
It's like it's like
I think I enunciated for too long. It's more just like Isabella.
yeah.
It's like,
It's like
yeah.
Isabella, but you only pronounce one of the L's. You know, because
Okay.
that's what I
Yeah.
was
Yeah.
noticing. I was like, oh yeah, that is you know how you would say it if you were good at speaking Spanish, not like myself, Isabella.
Yeah. Same.
Um, yeah, and she was great. You know, she showed up for one episode, she did her thing, and then she took off. I was like, damn, that's a good scene.
Hmm.
But
Hmm.
yeah, I love that whole scene. They ghosted it, you know. Essentially, Richard just closes his eyes and he's talking to Hurley the whole time, and I'm
Hmm.
like, but we see and hear the actress. So, yeah, they just needed to hold each other
And kiss.
and kiss. What's the song? What's the main song from Ghost?
uh, um, Unchained Melody by the Righteous Brothers.
Oh, yeah,
Oh, my love, my darling.
that's right. Isn't there like a long intro to that?
No,
No,
I don't think so.
because I remember somewhere I was like, it was like shopping. I was in a store somewhere, and I'm like,
Hmm.
damn, what song is this? And then it goes into that song. So maybe it was like a different version. But I'm
Oh,
like,
well,
this is
maybe
really
it was.
solid.
Yeah, yeah. I don't know. Well, yeah, I think there is because, like, for the longest time, I could only find segueing to another song. I could only find like the shortened version of "Come and Get Your Love" by Redbone.
Okay. Uh-huh.
Um, and it just immediately starts, with the bam, 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 bam.
Yeah, yeah.
But there's a whole like intro that they do where it's like just real slowed down, and he's like,
Oh,
"Come and get your
yeah.
love." And it's like it's real like I'm like this is such a mood and I
Hmm.
love this part of it. And then it goes into the other bit. I'm like, this is great. Like,
Yeah.
why do we cut this? This is ridiculous.
Yeah, right.
No?
Like 2 or 3 weeks ago, there was like a Motown special and on TV, and I wasn't really like I'm not like a big Motown guy.
Hmm.
So I was just like, oh, okay, that's cool, whatever. But it was on, and I'm washing dishes, and I'm like singing all the songs. I'm like, man, there's a lot of Motown. Like I guess just kind of growing up with it,
Hmm.
going through like the from birth up until like sixth or seventh grade, my music education was basically whatever mom and dad were listening to. So lots
100%.
of the
Yeah.
radio. Um, and there was a lot of Motown mixed in. Like
Hmm.
I don't think we ever had like a Motown channel, but it's just
Mm.
mixed in with all the stations.
Yeah.
And because I knew so many of those artists and songs. I'm like, oh, that's who sings this? I didn't even know. So yeah, I
So
got schooled.
maybe you are a Motown guy.
I guess so. But also, there was also a lot that like I wasn't familiar with, but the songs were sampled in a lot of like hip hop and R&B today. And I
Yeah,
was like,
yeah,
"Oh, wow. Like I didn't realize that that was sampled from somewhere else decades ago?"
yeah.
So, like it was just an educational experience for like 2 or 3 hours. And it was like a 2 night like event, like a documentary.
Oh wow.
Yeah. So that was pretty rad.
I just found out that Fatboy Slim sampled a line of dialogue from Catherine Bigelow's Strange Days
Really?
back in like 97.
Was it
Uh
Funk's old brother?
yeah. But it was the line right here, right now. Angela
Oh,
Bassett says it to Ralph Fiennes' character. It's like this is your life, Lenny. This is life. Right here, right now. And Fatboy Slim took that
oh,
audio clip,
wow.
sampled it, put it through a lot of filters, and that's uh whatever the song
You
is. I
think she
forgot.
got residuals for that?
Probably not.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's crazy. Like, I wish I could do music. I saw, I've mentioned it on the podcast before, but like, I don't have a TikTok and I can't get one now. But
Oof,
I get
yeah.
I get my TikToks on Instagram, so they're always like a month late.
Yeah.
There was this one who I don't know who the actress was or the film, but he took a sample from a porn flick somewhere. I don't remember what it was. It was just like she was like saying like I want it or something like that, but like moaning it, and he like cuts it down, chops it up, does all this musical stuff to it, puts it back in, and like I don't even think you could hear the words when you hear the song, but like he turned it into almost like a like instruments, and it
Huh.
sounds amazing. I'm like, how the hell did you do that? I mean, I know because I watched the video, but I'm like,
Yeah.
it's kind of messed up considering where he took it from. But just the concept of that, like, oh man, like that's kind of there's something kind of poetic in that of like taking actual words and literally turning it into music.
Yeah.
I was like, wow.
Hey man, art can come from anywhere.
If someone makes love listening to that song, then like the circle's complete.
Exactly.
There you go.
Exactly.
Yeah.
There's a line in Nosferatu, the
Uh,
Robert Eggers' Nosferatu, that is almost I can guarantee you sometime soon, some, EDM DJ is gonna use it, in their
oh,
set. And
I thought you were saying it was gonna be a porn.
yeah, no, Matthew.
Yes,
Uh
for all two.
yes, Ferratu, yeah. Uh um Yeah, so basically like it's a whole setup, but essentially it's like Lily Rose Depp's character is going mad, she's having
Uh,
fits, all these things. And she's been like tied up and chained up this whole time. Well, when Willem Dafoe's character comes in, he's just like, "No, you must not restrain her. You must not." And somebody else is like, "But doctor, if we don't, like, she'll rave." And like, and as he's like, so he's exiting the door. He's like exiting the frame, and then he comes back in, and then Willem Dafoe looks at this man dead in the eyes. It's like, if she must rave, then rave she must. And I'm like, 100% that's gonna show up in somebody's EDM set.
I lo-
Guaranteed.
I love that
He's
so
gonna
much. Oh,
if she must rave, rave she must. Boom, boom. Yeah.
oh man,
It's gonna be great. It's gonna
that's
be
awesome.
awesome.
I
Yeah.
love that. We haven't talked about Nosferatu on the pod. You want to give a quick,
Oh yeah, I know we have it.
yeah, quick. What
Um,
was your thoughts?
so I was trying to do a like road to Nosferatu. I was like
Right.
watching like a Nosferatu movie and then a Robert Eggers movie because I also haven't seen a lot of Robert Eggers stuff. Didn't get too far into that. Um, but my initial thoughts on his Nosferatu, I enjoyed it. I liked it. I it's it's kind of like what you were saying though about David Lynch, where it's like you know like the craft and you know how like he makes the thing, and
Right.
you can get the passion from that. That's kind of how I feel about the movie. It's like
Mm,
I really appreciate the passion and the artistry that's going on into making the movie. I think
yeah.
more than I like the movie itself.
Mm,
The movie's not bad, but I definitely think that like it's interesting because it's trying to be both Nosferatu and Dracula.
yeah.
And I don't know if this is a hot take or not. I don't know if this is a controversial opinion, but even though Nosferatu is essentially a bootlegged version of Dracula, of the original Bram Stoker story, I feel like they're just two completely different stories
Mm,
that have different sets of characters that are speaking to different things.
yeah.
And I don't feel like we should ever try to combine the two.
Interesting.
And yet, this is the movie that combines both of them.
Yeah.
And so it's interesting because then it's sort of like, well, then you know what's happening already. Like even though you don't recognize the names of the characters,
Yeah.
you can kind of one to one who everybody is, and then you can kind of see the beats coming, and all this stuff. They change enough of it so that it's like, oh, okay, yeah, like this is different. Like this is it essentially just feels like a if a vampire existed, this is what would it have been like to have him exist in the world, kind of thing.
Yeah.
Um, I think it's I think it's fine.
Is there a cowboy?
There is not.
See,
And that's
first
really
misstep.
that's all you yeah, it's like
You
that's the
can't
thing.
kill Dracula without a cowboy.
You can't kill him without the cowboy. Come on now.
Yeah.
Like,
Well, I haven't seen it yet because one, it looks scary, and two, I haven't seen the original
mm.
Nosferatu 1.
You have to watch Nosferatu 1 before you can watch Nosferatu 2.
Hmm. Wasn't that a Joe Hill book or something? But
Yeah.
it's the one with the license plate, right? It's like
Yeah. Yeah.
NOS 42 or
For
something. Yeah.
A2. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Which was
Interesting.
turned into a series for AMC.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Yeah. I saw season 1. It got a second season.
Yeah.
Um,
And then they try to make him an anti-hero.
God, I hope not.
Yeah, like
Yeah.
all series do. That's
God,
what
that
they're
guy
doing with
sucks.
the Day of the Jackal series. You hear about that one?
Are they
And he,
turning him into like a vigilante?
well,
Like an
I don't know about
anti-hero?
Vigilante, but apparently the season one leads into season two, and like I think someone's like taking his family, and I'm like, ugh,
Okay.
yeah. Let bad guys be bad guys,
Let
man.
bad guys be bad guys. Like
Yeah,
get like I do not need to feel sympathy for a villain in
yeah.
order to really enjoy watching the villain. It's like let's look, rewatched Die Hard over Christmas, right? The
Okay,
first one.
yeah.
Hans Gruber is kind of the perfect villain.
Yeah.
He's just like one, it's great because you got Alan Rickman playing him, so like you've got this like very classically trained
Yeah.
actor, knows all the stuff. But even just the way he's presented, if you're just looking at it like on the page, it's like everything about this guy is so calculated, is so precise,
Yeah.
and he's menacing not because he's being flamboyant or not because he's being, angry or like shaking people, demanding things of them. It's like, no, he's menacing because he knows he has control. He
Mhm.
knows that he's the one in control of the situation and nothing moves without his saying so.
Yeah.
Um, and I just think like he has such a presence that even in the moments where he does get to kind of like geek out and nerd out when he like goes into the big like Nakatomi uh like project room and there's all the little like miniatures and stuff and he's like, "Oh, I've always loved these like ever since I was a boy," just kind of going over things. It's like, yeah, like this guy, like, sure, like you can tell that he's a complete character already, but everything in his motions, everything that he's doing, the way he's talking, even just the way he like looks at his like underlings, just kind of giving them the side eye, it's all controlled and it's
Yeah.
great. And I am impressed with him. And like, yeah, I'm in it. I feel invigorated just by
Yeah.
seeing this villain. And also, I don't need him to ever have to, go and, team up. It's like, oh, we've got to stop the bigger bad guy and, we got to get Hans Gruber back. It's like, no, you don't need any of that. You don't need
Yeah.
to make him an anti-hero. I don't need to know about his life story if he was good or bad in school or,
Right.
anything about his parents and stuff. It's like, I don't need any of that
Yeah.
because this is like what's in the frame. That's all that matters.
Yeah. Yeah.
All the other,
That,
yeah, we don't need that.
that's kind of what I was talking about. What was it, last week when we were talking about Doctor Who and the Master?
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Like, I don't need all that stuff. I don't need you to write him quote unquote crazy and to be singing and dancing. When you write the evil doctor, that's what people think. Oh, because the doctor's such as this charismatic and at times like show off ish and kind of flamboyant. So what's the evil version of that? And I'm like,
Mhm.
well,
Yeah,
you don't have to. You would think
it,
that the master would be the opposite, actually.
yeah,
And
yeah.
it's just
Instead
like,
of
no, I
like,
want him just. I like what you said about Hans Gruber. He's in control, and that's where the menace comes from. I was
hmm
like, yeah, because the doctor or the master's always a step ahead of the doctor. Do that, menacing, in control. He's crazy, not because of the way he acts. He's crazy because of his actions themselves. You
hmm
know,
hmm
like, yeah, I don't know.
it's like they almost double down on like how flamboyant, like if this doctor is like flamboyant in any way,
Yeah,
the master is like that, but times 10.
yeah.
Where I feel like it's like no, like if the doctor is more flamboyant, then the master should be restrained.
It's
He should
it's
be
kind of the
reserved,
Sam Raimi effect from Spider-Man 3. They're like,
Mm.
"Oh, he just thinks when Peter puts on the spider suit, the black suit, he just thinks he's cool, but he really isn't."
hmm
And I'm like, I guess that fits for that story, for that interpretation, but
hmm
but like I'm not scared of that guy.
Yeah.
I'm not scared of this weird, crazy, geeky guy, I was scared of Spider-Man in the animated series with the black suit because he was just an
hmm
asshole,
Yeah.
So was he in Spider-Man 3, but it
hmm
was still like this weird, geeky asshole, So it's like,
Yeah.
yeah, no,
Yeah.
just make him a baddie. Like, you don't have to go that far. Like, yeah.
You know who I was scared of? Who's a villain? The Man in Black
Well, yeah, I
in
was gonna
this
bring it
in this
back.
episode.
I was gonna bring it back to that because we talked about everything other than the episode.
I know,
But dude,
and we
this
love this
this is
episode.
what always happens. Like the really good ones, like we don't have a lot to say because it was just like it was
Yeah.
almost perfect and I absolutely loved it. But
Yeah.
yeah, I loved the Man in Black in this. I thought it was great. It was great seeing Bosch back again. I'm trying to remember the actor's name, Titus Welliver, right?
Yes, yes.
Yeah, man, it was so good, and he's manipulating, and they really build him up as being like the devil, you know.
hmm
Whereas you even called it like a couple episodes ago, like, man, if this just God and the devil, I'm gonna be so disappointed. But like they're really kind of hitting that home now.
Yeah.
Uh at least even if it is just an analogy though. Like I love the way they're writing it. Like, oh, he is manipulating things,
Hmm.
he is the smoke monster. Like I
Hmm.
absolutely loved it.
And I love his performance because as I'm watching his performance, I can see Locke.
Yeah.
I can see all of the things that Locke does,
Yeah.
you know? And I'm just like, oh, that's fascinating. Like just the way, like, I don't know, like the way he speaks and the way he gives answers that are sort of true. They're just like half truths,
Yeah.
essentially, you know. And I'm like, wow, like yeah, even just the way he does end up manipulating, Ricardo into getting into like taking the blade to go kill Jacob, and I'm
Hmm.
like, oh man, yeah, like this is 100% evil Locke.
Hmm.
So I want to know who is more of who then? Is Titus Welliver more Terry O'Quinn, or is Terry
Right.
O'Quinn more Titus Welliver?
Yeah.
Yeah, crazy.
Well, I mean, just because of this show, he's more Terry O'Quinn.
Yeah,
You could tell
yeah.
he probably just watched the show, or even if it wasn't airing, and probably like the sides just to see what he was doing, you
Hmm.
know. Because what I didn't like about this episode,
What did you like about this episode?
the guy who plays Jacob. So
I
I
knew it. I
I
knew
have gone
it.
out on a limb for this guy, and just
Have
and
you?
I continue to say that I don't like Jacob, but I'm blaming it on the writers. You
Okay.
know, they haven't given this guy a lot to do. Like they give him like because they try and write Jacob in a way that's just very simple and subtle, but he's built up on all this like mythology, and I
Hmm.
just feel like they're not giving the actor any of the context
Anything.
or anything.
Yeah.
So I've always been like, I think this is the writing. But this episode, no, sorry, man. I'm dropping the hammer. We less than 9 episodes from the end, and we get a performance like this. I'm like, what the hell? And here's the thing, Sam, because I like this version of Jacob. I like the
Mm.
twist of where like, oh, he's just kind of a dick.
Yeah.
He's nowhere the wise, important figure we've come to known in the show so far. You
Yeah.
know, he's just a dick and he's just a dude. And like he has an attitude and he's just angry, and I like that. That's like the most believable Jacob's ever been this whole time. I'm like, yes, more of this. Not saying that like this is the way Jacob's supposed to be written, but it's like we're
Hmm.
finally getting character. He's finally a character and not just this.
He's just like a non-entity, you
Yeah, it's a
know?
non-entity, but like just the way
Yeah.
he's written too. It's just like he's just like all the lost villains.
Yeah.
They're characters that being written as if they're important, but they're not actually being given like the gravitas that they need
Hmm.
to play that important role.
Hmm.
And yeah, so this is the first time where I'm like, oh, this is a guy. This is a real person. This guy has motivations. He has dreams, hopes, I'm like, okay, cool. And then just the performance was just like,
Yeah.
okay. I was like, all
Yeah.
right. Which just gives even more credit to Nestor Carbonell because he was acting his ass off next to that guy, you
Hmm.
know? And I'm like, man, dude,
Yeah.
like he just stole the show. MVP, obviously.
Obviously.
He
Yeah.
just did so good, man. And like I like the way he didn't deny it. He's like, I killed this person. I need to pay the price, And he
Hmm.
even tries to repent, and then he's like, I will do anything for penance. And he's like, you don't have time. And he's just like, freaking out, like this 40-minute episode, 42-minute episode. Oh, actually, I think it was like 47 because they said it was one of the longest lost episodes.
Oh, okay.
Um, like Richard lost everything, you
Hmm.
know?
Hmm.
And it's like holy crap. So that just kind of helps us understand his character, where he's at, why he was just so on board with Jacob. And now we understand the position he's in because Jacob's gone.
Hmm.
And he's gonna defect, man. He's gonna go join the Man in Black. And then Hurley and Isabel shows up. And I'm like, oh man.
Hmm.
Oh, and I
Coming in
loved it.
clutch.
I love that because she says, close your eyes. Just like in the beginning where she tells him to close your eyes. And I'm like, oh, I forgot what the Spanish word is, but I
Hmm.
immediately thought of Vanilla Sky because it was,
Oh,
I forgot what the line, it's close your eyes in Spanish
yeah.
with Penelope Cruz. That's the opening line. And that's the
Mm,
line of the original movie that it was based on.
yeah.
That's the title of it.
Hmm.
Um, I was like,
And see,
man,
every time I hear "Close Your Eyes," I think of Buffy season 2, the finale, where she tells Angel to close his eyes, and I'm like,
oh
"Well, this
no.
can't be good." But then no, this time it is good. I'm like, "Oh, thank God!" Yeah.
Look at the flowers, Lizzie.
Get out of
Sorry.
here, old yeller.
Oh God. What's another one? What's another one? You know what to do, Rico. Yes, sir. Oh, there we go. Jim, I have. And no, that doesn't work. I was gonna
That
do Wrath
doesn't
of Khan,
work.
but I'm like, no, because they don't put him down.
Yeah, he just dies.
Okay.
Come on, Duncan. It's time.
I love you, Connor.
Yeah. Wow.
Oh man. Okay.
Oh, Highlander
Um,
Endgame rules
it
for
rules,
that
man.
moment
It's such a
alone.
terrible movie, but like I love it so much.
God.
Oh wow.
Oh,
Um, yeah. All right. Anything else? Any last words about this episode? I liked it because most of the cast weren't in it. Um,
honestly, that was my favorite bit is that
yeah.
like nobody else is in this episode except for like the very beginning.
It was
And I
weird
don't
that the girl had the flashback in the beginning.
yeah.
Uh,
Yeah.
I don't know like what purpose that was. Did they just want to show a flashback of like the regular Jacob first? Like,
I've like well because it ends with him talking about Richard, like she has to find Richard,
yeah.
which he says Ricardus, and
Yeah.
then nowhere else in the rest of this episode is he ever referred to as Ricardus. So
Yeah.
like in my mind, I was like, is he like Roman? Or
Right. Yeah.
like from the from like the Mediterranean, like but
Yeah.
from like BC times? Like, I don't know. And no, he's just from the Canary
His
Islands,
name's
And I'm
Ricardo.
like, his
Yeah.
name's Ricardo. He even calls him Ricardo in the episode later
Yeah.
on. And I'm like, so where the hell is this Ricardo's bullshit coming from?
Maybe it was just something to do with I don't know.
It's just Jacob being lofty and aloof, and
Yeah.
I'm, holier
However,
than thou, and,
we did find out what took out the statue.
which is interesting. I'm like,
That
okay.
was a huge wave, man.
That was a huge wave,
To
and
s-
that boat is far, it's deep in the
it's
island.
a sturdy ass to smash not just into the statue, but through it,
Through it, shattering the statue. There's
but
a
keeping the
foot
boat
left,
mostly intact.
mostly intact. That's
That's some strong wood.
that's some strong wood.
That, as the kids would say, that ship is bricked up. Now, I will say the term bricked up has several different meanings. I
Yeah.
mean, as in strong, not that
Okay.
it has a boner.
That man, that boat thick. Two C's.
What?
Two
Two C's?
C's.
Thick two
Thick.
C's. Well, dude, I know we barely talked about it, but there's not much to talk about. Like, it was just so good, and it was a simple story. It was just a story of this man who's trying to get his wife back. That's like the classic
Yeah.
mythology, man is
Yeah.
trying to bring his wife back from the dead.
It feels more aligned with I feel like modern storytelling. Like a lot of how like modern shows kind of do it. Like Not to say that this would be an that this fits in like an episode of Dark, but I kind of feel like this would be its own episode where we just follow a character.
Yeah,
You know, I know HBO's Watchmen. They do that for like several episodes where it's like,
yeah,
hey, this is a character who's part of this universe, and you know, sweeping saga, you know, all this soap opera stuff, but we really are just going to focus on this one character's journey this whole episode.
yeah,
And it's like, this kind of feels like what old school Lost was,
yeah,
but for like the whole time. And like, instead of there being A plot, B plot, you know, of like flashbacks, it's like, no, the
yeah,
whole A plot is the flashback. It's
yeah,
all telling us who Richard is just so that we could get to the moment where he has to decide if that's the man he still wants to be.
yeah,
You know?
yeah,
And I love that. I love that, you know, Richard is the one that has this story of like my life has no meaning. You
yeah,
know? It's like he like yeah, like we now know that like, oh, he was granted this eternal life and youth
yeah,
to serve Jacob to bring people to the island, but never told why or what to
yeah.
do after.
And for a show that's so based in science versus faith, there's not a lot of science or faith in this show.
Yeah.
And like this is the first character who's actually we've actually like believes in God, and we actually
Hmm.
see his struggle with his faith, you
Hmm.
know? And I'm like, dude, I'm like, this
Hmm.
is we should have had this earlier, man.
Yeah, it
Like,
sucks that yeah, this is like we're so close to the end and we're just
yeah,
barely getting this. Like
yeah, yeah, yeah.
honestly, like I feel like something like this could have been a Mr. Echo story if he had still been on the show,
Yeah, his whole
you
thing
know?
was like he was pretending to be this man of God, you
Hmm.
know? And it's like that was perfect opportunity. Like,
Yeah, yeah.
yeah, man. I mean, and by like not tiptoeing around it, by straight up making it about God and referencing like the devil
Hmm.
and making it a crisis of faith story, it almost elevates it
Hmm.
because it goes from like Locke's faith in whatever is happening on the island, and it
Yeah,
takes it above to like, oh, this is like good and evil that we're talking about here,
yeah.
you know. Which let's talk like the last thing we should talk about is the whole analogy with the wine.
Oh yeah,
I
yeah.
guess they finally explain what the island is. It's essentially like a cork keeping down the evil, you know.
Mhm.
And I was like, huh, interesting.
Yeah. Yeah. I like it. I'm just kind of like, if that's the case, then I felt like the smoke monster needed to be much more of a presence throughout the show instead of just being very in the background. Because what we're
Yeah,
saying is that this evil smoke monster is the big bad of the universe, and if
right.
he ever gets off the island, it's lights out for humanity.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Like,
Then why do we care about, you know, these others with their fake, you know, stage makeup and all that,
yeah,
trying to get
um,
women to have babies on the island? It's like what is all that for? You
right,
know,
right.
if this dude is the actual threat.
And I'm like, why isn't he better then?
Yeah.
Like, like that.
How come they're not working for him?
Yeah, that's kind of my thing. Well, granted, this island is keeping the evil away. So whatever he is, like, he's not. You know, there's worse.
Is it keeping the evil away or is it keeping the evil at bay?
Oh, okay. So like in this analogy, like he is
Because
the
that's what
wine.
the
So
yeah,
the
that's
island
the
is like a
analogy.
wine-soaked cork.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. Well, okay. I guess. Yeah.
Because he's trying to get out, but he can't. So
Okay,
it's
that makes
like,
sense.
yeah,
But yeah. So I'm like, so the evilest thing he can do is like kill people as a smoke monster.
yeah.
Like,
It kind of just seems like he just does that whenever he wants.
yeah, it doesn't really seem like any rhyme or reason for it.
Yeah.
Uh, but yeah, you would think he would have, as we're seeing today, more of a following. You know, like he would be turning people to his side,
Yeah.
not just candidates, not manipulating people. Like he would have been the one to create the others or something. You know,
Yeah.
so Yeah, which is also interesting because the talk that Jacob has with Richard, he's like, "Why should I? Against the point. I want you to do these things on your own. Why would I interfere with that?" And Richard says, he's like, "Because if you don't, he will."
Hmm.
So he's like, "Okay, so Richard's job is kind of the one to guide the the good or the light or just the people against the man in black, like."
Hmm.
Yeah, so I'm like, okay, so Jacob inadvertently has like this following because he doesn't want to get involved. Like, it's weird. It's
Yeah.
weird. The highlights of this episode was the Richard stuff.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, and apparently, what is it? Is the captain of the ship? His name is
Oh,
Hanzo.
Captain Hanzo, and the owner of the ship is Mr. Whitfield. And I
Whitfield.
was like,
Yeah.
oh, or Whitfield or Whitfield, something like that. I was like,
Yeah.
oh, okay.
Interesting.
Yeah. Kind of bringing things to pieces together here. I'm like, okay,
Mm-hmm.
okay.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah. A big part of Jacob is he speaks too modern.
Yeah.
I think the Man in Black kind of did as well, but his performance was so good, like I didn't mind.
Yeah.
But Jacob, and these are the little things. I mean, it's just kind of in general. I think he spoke to modern, but like Jacob says, "Wanna, you wanna." I'm like, nobody's saying that back then.
Yeah.
Granted, our version of English wasn't even around back then, but they're not going to make them speak
Yeah.
what they
This isn't
probably they were
this
going to
isn't a
make him
Robert
speak
Eggers
Spanish.
period piece, you know,
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
like yeah, it's fine. But yeah,
yeah,
just having your, ancient ethereal character say, "You wanna?" It's
yeah.
like,
You wanna,
"Oh,
you do, and it's just like, what? Wait, what?
okay,
Yeah, it was
chill.
weird. Um,
Get it together."
but yeah, then I wrote solid, maybe the best lost episode period. I think we've had lost episodes where like, dude, that was like perfect episode.
Yeah.
So I don't
Yeah.
think it's the best one, but it's up there. Yeah.
This ain't no The Constant, okay?
Yeah, 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 yeah,
But this is also up there, you
yeah.
know.
Any predictions going forward?
We're gonna get into some more shenanigans with questionable writing. Like,
Yeah.
yeah,
But at
that's
least now
kind
we
of all I
kind of
got.
have more of like the outline. Like, okay, we kind of understand what this Jacob Man in
Mm,
Black thing is. He's essentially evil. We couldn't figure that out before. But
hmm.
like it kind of, I don't know. It just it's not like we're walking away from this with more. We're walking away just with more context, you know?
Yeah, yeah,
Um so yeah, and it's going to be really interesting to see. Okay, like, what role does Richard play throughout these next couple episodes? Then, you know.
yeah.
So, because Sam, I hate to say it, but we only have 8 episodes left,
Man, all right.
and we start next week with Lost season 6, episode 10, "The Package," in which we finally return to the ongoing adventures of Sun and Jin, both on the island and off.
I was just about to say it was real nice to have Sun in an episode for like 2 seconds.
Yeah, I know, I know.
Fantastic.
Yeah. Jin as well last week. Same thing.
Yeah,
He
Jin
had
as
like one or two
well.
lines. That was it.
It's like, come on, guys. What are we doing here?
We're spending time with this guy who's playing Jacob and not Sun and Jin. Like, yeah,
Yeah. I hate it.
yeah. Well, everyone, thanks for joining us. Let us know what you thought about this episode.
Yeah.
Hit us up on all the socials. I'm on Instagram and Threads at Holy Hand Grenade of Antioch, and on BluSky at Matthew Jimenez. And I don't know, are we gonna get that new Chinese app? What's it called? Red Note?
Red Note.
Yeah, we get Red Note.
No, I don't think so.
Everyone's saying to like, dude, like, so I guess that's an app that like they already had in China for a
Yeah.
while
Yeah.
because everyone's getting on. They're like, yeah, it's just a bunch of Chinese people asking me to help on their English homework. I'm like, oh damn. Uh, so some girl posted like, wow, I've been on here for like an hour, and someone DM'd me by calling me what did they call her? Uh, English learning materials. Hi, English learning material. I'm like, what?
Wow.
So I wasn't on
Well,
TikTok, so I don't have my metaphorical TikTok spy to reunite elsewhere with.
yeah. Oh,
So
speaking of, uh, I did see one. I saw. Well, this was a TikTok. This was a TikTok, but it was from a Chinese man. But he's saying in English, he's like, "Hello, everyone. These are sad days, but as
yeah.
your Chinese spy,
Hmm.
I just wanted to say that it's been great, and also, I just want to give a quick shout out to some of you that I've been following over the years. Uh, Laura, yeah, it's been great. Like, it's been great. I'll miss you. You drink too much Coca-Cola. Stop drinking that much Coca-Cola. It's not healthy for you. Okay. And then he says somebody else is like, and lastly, Stephanie from Texas, uh, don't don't send nudes to that guy. Don't send nudes to that guy. He's an F boy. He's an F boy. He's texting other girls. Don't do it. Okay. Uh, it's been great. I'll see you all.
Oh
I'm
man, I
just like,
love it.
that's so great. Yeah,
Yeah.
apparently Americans are learning Mandarin in like record time. Um,
Wow.
yeah,
I'm telling
yeah.
you, man, if things
Well,
get worse, we're gonna all become communists
hey
by
man,
this time next year. We're all gonna be commies.
like it's such an interesting thing too, because uh, saw a thing where it was essentially saying like, hey, like this is sort of like this like here's the thing about like as a microcosm of Red Note and more so kind of like humanity, it's like when you venture out into other countries, this is kind of the smaller version of that, where it's like, hey,
Yeah.
you're coming here, we're allowing you here to be a part of this. You still have to be respectful.
Right, right.
You have to learn some of the customs.
Yeah.
And if you don't want to partake in any of the stuff, that's fine, but you still have to be respectful. So
Yeah.
be respectful, at least know the traditions enough so that you can be aware that like, hey, this is a tradition that we do and all this stuff. And so
Yeah.
that's part of why a lot of people are learning Mandarin so that they can communicate not just to their American audience or their audience in the UK or anything like that, but now more so to like a more global audience.
Right, right.
And I think that like I don't know, I think it's kind of beautiful. I think it also kind of sucks that a lot of Red Note users are being like, "Hey, is it true that in America you have to pay for your ambulance? You surely that's just
Yeah.
propaganda from our government, right?"
It's
And it's like,
I don't see this going forward that long. I don't want to be a pessimist, but like America's already, they're for whatever reasons, and there are plenty of reasons that they wanted to ban TikTok. It is, a form of suppressing freedom of speech.
mhm,
And then from China side, they've gone to great lengths to monitor and control their online um,
yeah, presence,
freedoms.
yeah, freedoms.
So the fact that like we're all becoming best friends on this app, like, man, I don't know how long this is gonna last. So, but I'm gonna have to start doing my research. What's worse, an oligarchy or communist nation? We'll find out.
Wow. Wow, I have an answer, but maybe we'll save that for next week. And
Yeah,
you
we'll
can
see what
find
we feel
me
like next week.
and you can find me on Instagram, Twitter, and Threads at Real. That's our EEL Texas Weirdo. Oh, and on
Uh,
Blue Sky at yeah, same thing.
oh yeah, BluSky. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah. So anyway, everyone, get
Get
lost.
lost.